in this regard, this was the thing, we've been banging our heads against for a while in terms of evaluations and so forth, and evaluation process. This would sort of have to kind of be relatively standardized, wouldn't it, throughout the state? Okay, so
the data that's going to.
The data, but I mean the evaluation process in which you achieve or you garner that data would have to be sort of like statewide.
Well,
Is it?
the district's going to have the option to develop their own, but they would have to meet the standards of the statewide system. So most districts, one can assume, are going to adopt the statewide system.
That was what the governor's symposium was about.
Right.
And it was a really valuable symposium, I think.
It was.
But I think we all left in our union co-presidents were there with the idea that we're going to use the statewide model. We don't have the capacity to develop the type of systems that's going to meet the standards. And if, we try that, and down the line, we're finding parts of it aren't working, we could modify those. But in the time frame that they're talking about, and the type of evaluation system that's going to meet their criteria.
They're going to have this ready for piloting next fall.
Really?
This upcoming fall, that's what they
wow.
said. And then it's going into place in 2011.
Wow.
Really? Yeah, but they're going to have a pilot going next year. We're not
Who's doing the
volunteering.
pilot? Yeah.
Why
There's
not?
two models.
Why not? Why wouldn't we volunteer?
AFT got some money to develop a model,
Right,
the other
Mhm.
and then the state is going to do a pilot. There's a committee, and she's gonna have different people on the committee devising that this summer.
Well, if there's a pilot program, I would highly endorse our adoption of it, or volunteering to do so if they're
I
accepting
agree.
volunteers.
Yeah.
It's appendix B.
Right. and
Well, the next one on page 7 is
Just-
that we would commit to participating in the design of that system.
Absolutely. Gosh, knows we got some background.
They were saying that, I forgot what city it was, that had developed a quality, but they spent $3 million doing it.
Oh, we spent about what?
2 cups of coffee.
Yeah. We would, on page 8, if we choose to implement the Rhode Island model, we would have the training and support for the phase-in from live. That would be certainly something that would help us to meet what the requirement is and move us that much farther ahead without having to expend funds. This is what I mean, we aren't getting any money, but the benefit to us, we would have to be spending money to come into compliance.
But again, what this all comes back to, and I'm not sure what the answer is, it was suggested at the meetings that we attended that to be a participant meant having the entire district, including the union, signing on. So that if the union doesn't sign on, are we then not a participant? We would still have to participate in the evaluation process, because it's anything with the stars is going to be.
So we were gonna have to do it, but then we would we
get the
get to
support.
participate
That's right.
in their training and
Right.
and have a seat at
Right.
the table, and I don't
So
know.
it's really,
It's
a lot hinges on our.
It's really important. I think,
on our, union participation.
And I'm optimistic that, that they will see the importance of it.
Yeah, I am also optimistic.
Okay, so that's about the Rhode Island model. 9 is still on great teachers and great leaders. The state is then going to evaluate all of the evaluation data, and this would be a commitment to participate in that for the purpose of identifying what our professional development needs are. And developing professional development plans based on our teacher evaluation data. It's all good, yep.
How it should work.
And then in the next one, we're saying no. And saying that we would consider submitting a proposal to develop a compensation system based on teacher evaluation. We don't have the capacity to offer to develop a model, and we just can't. I did say that we would be interested in learning from those things, but we couldn't commit to say, yes, we will submit a proposal. Next one's about using evaluations to inform tenure and certification decisions. And part of this is the mentoring program. And I think that the union and the administrative team agree that our mentoring program is weak, and that we want to improve it, and that if RIDE is going to develop a high-quality model, that again would help us to say what changes should we make in ours that will really be much more supportive to our beginning teachers. Because those first 3 years are really key to, and you can lose tremendous talent if there isn't support for them. But it would require us to submit all of our evaluation data to RIDE, which I think we're going to be required to do anyway. Committing that none of our students would have an ineffective teacher for 2 consecutive years. I think we agreed that this was an easy one to say yes to, because as we look at our staff, we don't think we have any highly ineffective teachers.
Is there a difference between ineffective and highly ineffective?
Well, when we decide on what data to use, then...
Well, it decides on what the evaluation process is going to determine ineffective, and ineffective is going to be pretty clear.
In the student data, we don't see, a group of students not learning anything in any particular teacher's classroom. The data varies, right? To say, this was a wasted year for these kids, nobody learned anything, we don't see that in our data.
But just to play devil's advocate in this regard, well, please clear it up for me. Is it possible for a student to have a teacher 2 years in a row here?
Same teacher?
Got the same teacher?
Yes, in 7th and 8th grade loop.
Okay, so in the 7th and 8th grade loop, committing to this, hopefully we don't have any ineffective teachers, and that will be dealt with, but there may be that little, I have no idea how it would play out, but if somebody is found to be ineffective, God forbid, what do you do the next year? Because you have to put them, the kids somewhere, and they're not supposed to have that ineffective teacher for 2 years. So I'm just saying, it may be endemic to our situation.
A very important reason of why we need the authority to be able to move teachers and ensure that we have the right teacher with the right kids. Right. But if we do have an ineffective teacher, we certainly want to do it.
Absolutely.
And this would give us an avenue for doing that.
It's pretty clear, use evaluation to dismiss ineffective education. It's pretty clear.
The 13 was, we were going to say no to this because it talked about high poverty, high minority schools, and talked to Mary Ann about it, and she sort of talked us into saying yes, because of the part about matching student need to educator effectiveness. So the part that wouldn't pertain to us, we wouldn't participate in, but the part that would benefit us, we wouldn't want to be left out of it by saying that.
Well, again, I like Kathy's comment earlier about, we are a state as well. Whether this applies to us or not, I think that we need to recognize that instead of all the little 37 chiefdoms running around here, that it is one state, so.
The state has a new recruiting website. I had Jeanette look at it because we've gone with School Spring in the past, and it's just like amazingly efficient based on what we did, and whoever will participate in any selection committees will see that you get a password, you go online, and you read the applications right there. We're not killing tree after tree after tree, running off all these resume. Everything comes formatted so they all look the same. You're not saying, well, where are their transcripts? The transcripts are all in the same place, and
So school